Reddit is where deck builders go to vent, ask for help, and share their worst days. I pulled some posts about the biggest pain points in the industry, and I'm breaking down each one with my honest commentary. Sorry guys, I had to go get my glasses to read this to you. I quoted a deck build for a customer based on current lumber prices. Pretty standard sized deck, nothing fancy. Materials were gonna be a few thousand. Customer took like 3 weeks to think about it and compare other quotes, which is totally normal, and that is totally normal. Finally calls me back and says, let's do it. I'm pumped, this is a solid job. I go to order the lumber and the prices had jumped. Not a little bit, like significantly more than when I quoted. I'm talking hundreds of dollars I didn't budget for and definitely didn't include in my quote. Now I'm locked into the price I gave them weeks ago. I can't exactly call and say, hey, remember that number? Well, actually it's more now. They'd rightfully tell me that's my problem, so I just have to eat the loss. This has happened to me too, maybe 3 or 4 times this year where prices jump between quote and acceptance, and I'm just absorbing it. It adds up fast when you're solo. Do you guys add price escalation clauses to quotes, expiration dates, or buy materials early and hope the job comes through? I need to figure something out. This is eating into jobs I thought were gonna be profitable. First of all, if it's a smaller project and you go back to your client and say, hey, the quote I gave you, you could put in some kind of, like it says escalation clause or some kind of a clause in your estimate. It says this estimate is based on today's price and give a date. And then say, if this isn't accepted within 7 days, then the price will change depending on material costs. Now, if the price goes down, are you gonna give a discount? Probably not. So if it only goes up a certain percentage, I wouldn't sweat it. But if you're talking hundreds of dollars on $1,000 profit, then I would definitely go to the client. Before you lift a finger, before you tear a deck board out, before you do anything for that client, and I would definitely talk to them about a price adjustment. It's not gonna be huge anyways. If it may be hundreds of dollars, but say, hey, the prices have gone up. You can ask any of the other contractors, or if this blows the project, I get it, but I can't do it for that same price because my cost of materials has gone up 15%, and I need to pass that on to you. If you're civil and the clients are understanding, shouldn't be a problem, but you could possibly lose the project. So then you need to decide, is it worth doing? And in my opinion, I never reduce my price. I will only reduce the scope of the project to fit the budget. That's my professional opinion. Let's go ahead and read a couple comments. 26-year general contractor. If you committed to the price, then it's on you. If they waited 3 weeks, that was your opportunity to say, hey, let me check my numbers. In the same breath, it's a deck. If your margins are so low that you can't absorb a 5% material delta, then this is a very good sign that you are not charging enough. While it sucks, hundreds of dollars should not make a difference in a real profit line on a $10,000+ job. Okay, kind of the same thing I just said, a little more descriptive. That's great. Here's another one. Yeah, the hundreds of dollars line is a tell. Every job fluctuates hundreds of dollars, up or down, true. Your margins between labor charge and material markup should cover all of that, no problem. Agreed. I don't nickel and dime my clients. If we have to dig a hole and there's a big old rock in the way and it takes us 3 hours to get the rock out of the way, I don't upcharge them 3 hours because I had to move a rock that nobody saw before we dug the hole. Those are the kind of scenarios and situations, just like a material price. I just don't see them in 3 weeks going up that much. Maybe in certain parts of the country, maybe if you're working in Hawaii or something like that, that might be a thing. Here's another one. Skilled tradesmen shouldn't be eating anything at all. No cost increase should be absorbed by the skilled tradesmen. We got to start acting like that we are a rare commodity. We're not garbage men. It's, hey man, don't put it out on the garbage men. Garbage men are important. We need garbage men in every city of every state of every county in the United States to take our garbage. So we are just not going to cheapen our rate because the material costs are higher. But it's really up to you to have the guts and the business satire to go in and explain this to your clients. I wouldn't say it's a tough decision. And hey, here's your last ditch. If you really want the job, you're willing to do it for the price that you already gave, ask if they'll absorb 50% of the cost. That is a fair negotiation. And if anybody will not take you up on that, then I would bounce. The client's not valuing your labor. They're just worried about the bottom line. This guy right here. My truck was parked near the mailboxes. We just had a brand new porta potty delivered and he pulled up, parked his Jeep and went and took a dump in our porta potty without even asking. So we put a lock on the door. The next day he wouldn't deliver the mail because my truck was in the pathway of the Jeep. He could still get out and deliver the mail. For 2 days, he didn't deliver the mail. So I had to start parking down the street so that the mail would be delivered to 3 mailboxes that my truck was, it's not even blocking. It was just inconvenient. That lock staying on the porta potty. This Reddit is from r/decks, r/decks, plural. As a licensed residential contractor, why am I even bothering to pull permits on decks anymore? Yes, go for it. It's gotten so bad in my county city. 3 weeks to get approval for a 100 square foot deck. Had to have the health department come inspect where the septic was and then schedule with environmental to make sure there wasn't any runoff. Not only that, the decks I have seen pass inspection are hilarious. Meanwhile, Shade Tree Joe had the neighbors down the road deck built in a week, gone and paid. On top of that, if the deck gets passed and something ends up horribly wrong and fails, does the customer go against the city for passing a failed deck? No, they sue the contractor. I built hundreds over engineered decks. The house will fall down before my deck does. I'm just frustrated with the bureaucracy. I completely and 100% agree with you. Sometimes I don't pull building permits just for that reason. And I'll be honest, I'm guilty of doing the same thing. And also, but the deck we're building right now, we did pull a permit. The next deck we're building will pull a permit. I'd say we're probably 50%. We pull more permits than the average deck company does. And a lot of them have stopped doing it because they're tired of how difficult it has become and how much time it takes. We are on the city schedule. The city is not on our schedule, or the township or the county. None of them care about our timeline. If it costs us another 6 weeks, they don't care if we go bankrupt. They just want to tax us, and then they want to tax the house more and create more property tax because you did an improvement on the home. So if you know what you're doing, a lot of times you're going to skip the permit and hopefully you don't get busted. If you do though, it can create a whole nother problem. But if you know the code and you know what you're doing, so be it. Here's a story for you. The guy said, you know, this guy was done in a week and gone before I even had my permit. 3 weeks is not a long time. We have been waiting 3 months for a permit. Some people wait 3 years for shoreline and saltwater type applications. So it depends where you live, depends where you're at, depends on the city or the township or the county. Here's one for you. Before my wife took over all the calls, I'd wait 4 or 5 days to call a client and say, hey, Dr. Decks here, you want to set up a time for a bid? And they're like, we already had the deck built. 5 days? You already had the deck built? What, somebody came over this day you called and built it? I've gone on bids before. I've scheduled a bid and the people are in the middle of building the deck and they forgot to tell me, oh yeah, we already signed with somebody else. It happens, it's frustrating, and it's something we all struggle with. But those big, massive builds with big elevations and big timber, we always get those permitted because you just never know what may come of it when the house goes up for sale or something like that. Or if a building inspector happens to be driving by and sees you building this big, massive structure and you don't have a building permit for it, you could put yourself in a lot of trouble. You could put your contractor's license at risk as well. That is something I am not willing to do. All right, let's hear a couple of comments. I'm not paying a $2,000 to $5,000 fine for no permits if I get caught. How long it takes is not really my problem, to be honest. Plan ahead and bill for the time it takes to handle the paperwork. My fee is $1,500 to manage all that. Client responsible for all fees from the municipality. That's cheap. I might hire this guy to do it for me because I charge $2,500 for construction drawings, $2,500 for engineering, and then the permit fee. So my permits are an easy $6 grand, if not more. Usually I say budget $7,500 to get a building permit. Sometimes that's enough for people to say, I don't want to do it. I'm like, I don't blame you. Okay, here's another one. I had to get an environmental assessment plus committee of adjustment plus engineering plans plus site plan. Well, the site plan you always got to do for a permit, which is the suck part of a building permit. Not sponsored, guys, but I go to mybuildingpermit.com or mysiteplan.com and I pay somebody $139 to give me a very accurate site plan with the house, where the deck's going, topography, trees, all that stuff. It is so worth it. Unless you already have one that the homeowner's gonna give you, then that's different. Here's another one. In my area, they issue the permit right then and there if you have everything you need, and that's not much. Just a well drawn out picture, blueprint, and estimated cost of the deck. They will come check out the depth of your post holes and then do a final inspection. That's great. We have to have a framing inspection as well, but we can't get it done at the counter. Since COVID in my jurisdiction, you're not allowed to go in and just pull a permit at the counter anymore. Everything has to be submitted online. It's become quite the hassle. If you have one thing wrong, one north arrow pointing the wrong way, it takes 2 weeks for them to get back to you to let you know. It's too much. Okay, here's another one. Screw permits, just build. Actually, screw building. Just take the customer's money and disappear. This one's from the Reddit r/decks, plural. It says, inspector was mad, 20 code violations. And there's pictures. Do you think the inspector was mad because the contractor never called for a post hole inspection or because he did not follow the approved plans? The deck failed the inspection with 20 code violations. The deck was built 18 inches too close to the existing window where the sliding door was to go. All right, so here's all the violations. Unable to verify depth of post holes as they were poured without inspection. Unable to verify length of ledger board anchor, double ledger board. No drip cap or flashing. Improper fasteners and not the right amount attached to 2x8 joist to triple beam. Install H2.5 clips to inside joist and attach to triple beam with structural fasteners. Install fasteners from both sides of the triple beam at correct spacing. Install through bolting for triple beam in proper location. Attach the post to the header bracket with structural screws. Attach all joist hangers with structural fasteners of appropriate length. Post anchor base requires the use of anchors minimum 1/2 inch. Attached stair stringers with any approved mechanical attachment. Stairs too narrow, need to be 36-inch minimum. Stair landing pad does not match print. Stair risers must not have an opening that is a 4-inch sphere. Okay, that's not a complete sentence, but what it should read is stair risers must not have an opening that is more than a 4-inch sphere, or that a 4-inch sphere can pass through. The outside or end joist on the stairs side needs to be doubled to match approved plans. Install a continuous graspable handrail. The header location does not match approved plans. Install sway bracing from post to header height of deck 5 feet. Chamfer cut post with the post header bracket to minimize water sitting on post and entering the splits in post and rotting post prematurely. Trim sonotube to concrete height or lower so it does not hold water. Wow, that is a lot. I don't think the inspector was angry. I think he was doing his due diligence to make sure the client was getting a properly built deck. There's a lot of these things that sound major that are minor using the right structural screws, but if you don't know to use the right structural screws in your build, then yeah, maybe you shouldn't be building decks to begin with. Okay, here's some comments, guys. Your contractor will be pulling the deck apart. He's going to be pissed. He only has himself to blame. And then this one says, nah, he'll schedule it out 2 weeks, forget schedule out 1 week, have family emergency, repeat for 6 months until OP is too tired of dealing with it to take him to small claims court. As someone who is doing renovations right now, that sounds like my contractor. Oh. A comment maybe that I was thinking. I was wondering about that. Like, this is the point where it is completely started over from scratch, or is this when you pay off the inspector? That's not going to happen. This job will not be profitable anymore. As a customer, I would not be okay with re-screwed lumber giving it a used look either. I'm guessing they'll even make them re-dig and re-pour the holes. If the holes were poured correctly, you could dig down and show the inspector how deep one of them is and the diameter of it. And I've had to do that in the past when I've gotten red tagged. Sometimes, yeah, you might have to. They might make you do that. It depends on how much effort. If you did a shoddy job from the base of the deck, you're gonna have to redo it. I took number 19 to have more to do with the wrong bracket, but I'll admit I'm not really sure what the inspector means there. I don't see any posts with exposed tops that would require a chamfer cut, so maybe the plans call for something different than what we're looking at. This is like the wrong bracket, really. He wants you to chamfer the edge, put it on a 45, so all the moisture that comes down around that bracket drains off the side of the post and not absorbs like a sponge into the top of the post. He's just trying to save a little bit of rot and premature decay is what that post was about. You could actually probably take a skill saw and do that. It wouldn't be pretty, but then again, none of this is pretty in my opinion, so it is what it is. This is from Reddit rdecks. How important is gapping for Trex? So we're having a replacement deck, wood to Trex, and the installers aren't leaving enough space on the end-to-end boards. There are a fair number of them basically touching not the required 1/8 inch gap. Is this going to cause problems in the future, and what might those problems be? Thanks. When I used to build Trex decks, I hated putting an 1/8 inch gap. They're talking about end-to-end, where the boards come over like a seam. So there's 2 ways to avoid this. Either you use controlled expansion joints or breaker boards and run the boards full length to a breaker board, then you don't have this problem. Or when you're seaming boards together like a random pattern and you're touching them like this, I would back bevel the boards so they were like this. So the tops touched, but the bottoms did not. That gave some room for expansion and contraction. I never had a deck I had to fix, and I did hundreds of Trex decks this way. Never had a problem. But to really avoid the problem, don't do random length composite decking. Always run it on a breaker board if you can. That's the easy way to fix it. Let's see what some of these other comments are. There's not many on this one. When I was setting my Trex boards, some areas of the deck were in full summer sun and some were in the shade. I did notice the hot ones got a tad bit longer. Gap the hot ones using Johnson gauge at 1/8 tightly, knowing they were going to shrink a tiny bit. Anywhere, there has to be a gap. If not, there is no Trex warranty. With my technique, all the sediment doesn't get trapped in the gap, because around here with all the trees and everything and all the stuff falling down on the deck, stuff's gonna get caught in that gap and then it's not gonna be effective, okay? That's why I like to leave the tops touching and the bottoms gapped. This is why I put a divider board and split it into two 12-foot sections where I could not have any butt joints. This is a perfect answer. Also, even 1/8 is too small according to the manufacturer. The installation specs say 6mm to 10mm based on installation temp. That is just under 1/4 inch to just over 3/8. This is not just for thermal expansion, but for drainage too. I think that's way too much. I think that this is excessive, but gap to those specs anyhow. I only have gaps at the divider and picture frame now, other than between boards, but those gaps are fixed by the hidden fasteners, so those are to manufacturer's spec anyhow. My brother did not gap appropriately, and his buckled a little bit. Not much, but enough where you can feel it flex some when you walk on those spots. If your deck is not built to Trex specs, you may not be eligible for warranty. If there is a problem down the road, figure out a way to put the builder on the line if they say you are wrong. Our final one coming up, and it's kind of in the same realm as the last one, but it's still a little bit different. Nearly finished install, sagging boards. How bad is it? According to this picture, it's pretty bad. Composite decking installation being done, and I notice there's quite a bit of sagging. Should I be concerned with this much sagging? I can fit another board under the white level above. Seems like a lot of sagging to my amateur eyes. Well, no, your eyes are pretty good, because that's terrible. This center of this deck is just sagging too much, and you need a center beam support or something to support the underside. Either the joists are overspanned and they're sagging, or there's not enough support for the joists so that or they were installed upside down, which they were not crowned. So we always crown our framing so that the crown's up. So there could have been several different reasons for this to happen. I've actually had to go back on a deck once that we crowned all the framing up, but one joist still sagged so bad that we had to go in and add a beam to bring it back up to level. So it does happen. There's nothing you can do to control Mother Nature, regardless of how much calculating you do. So sometimes those kind of things do happen. Here's some comments from other Redditors. All right, the structure of frame was never flat to begin with, so the deck boards are following it. The part of the ledger that I can see has no fasteners in it holding it to concrete. Your joists, which appear to be 2x6s, may be overspanned. Anyway, if you want a flat surface, you're going to need to fix the structure. Kind of what I said. Here's another one. You can tell how bad it is by where the water is showing up on the low spots. Not very good, I'd say. Here's another. Check that exposed ledger at the end. Is it sagging? If your joists were not level to begin with, that would explain it, because they don't look like they're spaced too wide to cause composite to sag. You know what I'm finding about this Reddit? There's a lot of people out there that are really willing to help you. If you really don't know, or if you're not sure, if you're the homeowner and you're trying to check in on your contractor, there's other people that are chiming in to give you solid advice. Because a lot of these comments, unless you're being a smart aleck, are actually solid advice. From the opinion I gave to what I'm reading, a lot of it's very similar in advice and what I would do or what a professional would do to fix it. If you're not sure about something, guys, we have over 2,000 videos about building decks, different tools, different techniques, different ways to do things. We keep putting out more content. The most important thing that you can do today is subscribe to this channel, and it supports us, and it also gives you that wealth of information. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you got a kick out of it, and also maybe learn something. If you did, click subscribe, hit that bell icon. Don't forget to support us by buying some merch down below in the link, or check out our new podcast as well. Links in the description below. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day.